So all the manufacturers that we went to that made their own machine, they just said we were nuts. So we said, screw you guys, we're going to go do it ourselves. So we went to the Intertraffic show in Amsterdam in 1991, and we launched the LineLazer there, and our booth was packed. We were just swamped with people from all around the world. Everywhere around the world wanted to see this new airless technology for line striping that could put a line down that looks like tape, but it isn't tape.
Spraying any size line doesn't have to be so difficult. The most advanced technology in line striping is now available here on Earth. Introducing the Graco LineLazer.
Line striping is what makes our highways, our parking lots, and our airports organized and safe for travel and for parking vehicles.
Graco, their foundation was in 1926. At that time, many of the cars that were serviced outside in Minnesota, in the middle of winter, 30 below, the grease was really thick. They needed to have a air-operated pump to actually force the grease into the Zerk fittings of the cars. And that's what Russ Gray invented. Well, it just so happens that pushing of the grease took the same amount of pressure that it takes to spray paint. And that's where the first so-called airless paint sprayer was developed. The painting contractors used to apply paint with brushes and rollers, so we could spray it and we could do it about 8 to 10 times faster. When CED was born, CED was the first division of Graco to take the air-operated airless pump and turn it into an electric airless pump. So it no longer needed the compressor, you just plug it in.
In 1989, I ran a company by the name of Lot Lines Incorporated. I had 3 or 4 crews that traveled around the Twin Cities area here, putting down parking lot stripes and some intersection work. At that time, we were using mainly air spray type equipment.
So in 1989, I was the product marketing manager for what we considered the niche markets, which was striping, roofing, and texture. And I was very excited about the striping marketplace because I had already invented the first Graco line striper out of Chicago. But I wasn't satisfied with that. The idea was to go out and talk to contractors and find out if they were interested in using airless spray. And one night back in Minneapolis, I had to go out in the evening and pick up some diapers for my young kids, and on the way back,
2 of my best guys were out striping the parking lot,
and I could see they had these big floodlights on the parking lot, and I had to go and talk to that contractor. I mean, that was what I do.
And Dale came over and wouldn't leave me alone. He really was interested in what was going on.
Interestingly enough, the conversation went along the lines of, would you think that this would actually benefit your business if you had a paint sprayer that was airless and put a line like tape down, and it was easy to maneuver, and you could remove the spray guns and do your stencils and do all these things? And Jim kind of looked at me and he said, yeah, I think that would be really good.
It led me into another meeting with Dale where we got together and we tried some of the equipment Graco offers.
So it was like the first guy that I ran into that actually said, yeah. Everybody else just said, no, that sounds crazy. I can't imagine that. You know, I'm fine doing what I'm doing.
From that point on, it was a commitment between the both of us to really try to perfect the world of striping when it came to the airless equipment that Graco could offer and what I could add to it to make a design that would bring it to the next level.
And in his own little way, he took the ideas that we had and he kind of played with them, and eventually Jim became kind of like our own engineer at Graco. Even though he didn't work at Graco, he was still working at Lot Lines.
When Dale and I started talking about what Graco has for gas-driven airless type equipment, the light bulb went off, and I knew that that's what I wanted on my machines, and that actually led me to the point where Graco couldn't offer it yet, so I took the gas drive airless units with my guys. We spent the winter just brainstorming and coming up with a couple different designs. And in the spring we were out running them.
He had actually made some nice improvements to some of the models that we had, and he had modified those. And eventually we got to the point where we had what I considered the first working prototype. Jim's business continued to grow, and eventually we worked hand in hand on this prototype, and we actually made the final product.
It was unbelievable because that year we doubled and tripled our productivity, and we used probably a 30 to 40% less paint.
And the first real prototype that we gave Jim, he went and he striped the largest striping job in the world, which was the Mall of America. Thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of paint. And that was the first big job that he did to prove the reliability and ease of use of the LineLazer.
The LineLazer had taken off in 1990. My business was growing rapidly. We were doing a lot more painting, actually, because of the fact that we had airless equipment built into the sprayers.
Introducing the Graco LineLazer striper.
So the next step was we put the one wheel in the front, and then you could jog the machine over just perfect and line up and hit your lines perfectly. So we ended up with the benefit of spraying a line that looked like tape, which was perfect. It had no overspray. It didn't have any clouding or anything to it, and it looked beautiful. And the contractor didn't have to thin the material, and he could spray right up to the curb, and he could line up properly, and the machine was just easier to maneuver and easier to handle.
In 1990, when the LineLazer came out, we were spraying up to about 1,000 parking lots a year, and our paint savings were up in the neighborhood of 25 to 30%. And the amount of time to do a job was at least half. It was incredible. We would go into jobs where we might have multiple colors, and we could literally change color in a matter of a few minutes, where before it took 20 to 30 minutes. As the LineLazer grew and kind of exploded into the world, we were listening heavily to the customers and what their needs were. It was just an ongoing development of new and better technologies that really grew the LineLazer to where it is today.
So in 1990 was the real launch of the LineLazer, and we launched it at the National Pavement Expo in Nashville. It was a huge launch, and our booth was completely swamped. There was like 45 people deep trying to see this new technology.
A contractor can look at it and understand it within minutes and put paint on board and make a good line. Within a half a day, he's an expert at striping.
That was 1990, and then for the next 25 years, the Gen 2 came out, Gen 3, Generation 4, and we have tens of thousands of customers. It's the #1 selling airless line striping piece of equipment around the world.
In the next 25 years, I believe striping will be around. I believe that the equipment will probably be GPS operated. It might be guided differently. We'll still have that need to guide the airplanes in. We'll still have to take cars down the road, whether they're tracking paint or maybe they're tracking some device that's in the paint that actually locks the car into a tracking mode.
I think line striping is going to be here, and Graco is going to be #1 in anything that we do in line striping.